Hello there. Today's title of the word of encouragement is called From Ways in the Wilderness to the Land of Promise. So today we're going to be reading in Deuteronomy 1 about a story that teaches us about the rewards of faith and the consequences of disobedience. So we're going to start where the Israelites had just left Egypt and now they're settled at a place called Mount Sinai. After they had been settling at Mount Sinai, God had actually commanded the Israelites to move on and go to another land because they had been settling at this place for too long. God had commanded these people to go into a new land called the Promised Land, and he was going to help them to enter into this land. In Deuteronomy 1 verse 8, he actually says, "Go and occupy this land." And that was all he commanded. So the Israelites left Sinai and journeyed through the wilderness in obedience and by faith, until they could see the Promised Land just over the hill. So the Israelites left Sinai and journeyed through the wilderness by faith and in obedience. When these people were very close to victory, all too soon, everything crashed. So what the Israelites had done was that they rebelled against God's initial command to go and occupy the land, and instead they made up their own plans like many of us do and sent scouts to go and explore the land and bring back a report of what they had seen. The good thing about the scout mission was that the Israelites had only confirmed what God had already promised. This land was indeed good, it was rich, better than anything that they could have ever imagined. However, many also came back telling how the armies that they were supposed to take the land from were large, that their walls were high, and that they were tall and more powerful than them. This discouraged many of the Israelites. But Moses continued to encourage the people and tell them how they should not be afraid nor discouraged because the Lord was going to fight their battle for them. He was going before them and he was going to make a way for them to enter the Promised Land just as he has promised. Now, many of them got frightened and actually became discouraged, so they started to doubt God's love and his provision. After everything God had brought them through, they rebelled against God and didn't go and enter the Promised Land. So God became very angry, and in his anger, he took away the Promised Land from the people, and he only gave it to one man called Caleb because he still followed God's command and was faithful even after everything he had seen in the scout mission. So words of wisdom that I received from this story. First of all, I want to talk about how baby steps are better than no steps. For many of us, even taking that initial step of faith is too much to ask for. We are not brave enough to ask God for more than just our daily bread because otherwise we will have to be tested and refined in the wilderness. The wilderness is a scary place to be. It's great and terrifying because out here, our greatest aspirations, hopes, and dreams have no safety net and no physical assurances like money, strength, intellect, and reason, connections, and all of those other physical things that we rely on. However, our fear of leaving comfort and earthly stability only exposes our lack of how we fully trust God to provide in every situation. Secondly, I want you to see it before you see it. God has given us an amazing gift of imagination, and we need to use it to be able to also scout in the spiritual realm and ask God for whatever it is that our hearts desires. When I close my eyes for a minute, I can see God's vision and I can trust in all the ways that he's promised to provide for me. Even if I physically do not have any proof, I need to believe that I am the exception, that God is going to make ways for me and that his promises never fail. God is going before me and has directed my steps. God wants to do something new in you, and the only requirement is to trust and obey. We all want to receive the prophetic word, but do not have the faith to carry out the prophetic works of patience, trust, surrender, humility, obedience, refining. Due to lazy faith, many of us actually stay in the same level of faith as when we first believed, and God is telling us that he wants to move mountains in our lives. God wants to move mountains in your life, but you've been resting at level 1 faith for too long. He's saying that it's time to move on now so you may experience the fullness of his kingdom. God bless you.